Welcome to another Baka commentary. In this video, well, we'll be finding maybe where I am not late or not too late to the thing, and that is I'll be talking about the Steam machine. Everybody and the mom and the dad probably all heard about the new Steam hardware, and that is the new Steam machine and the Steam kind of absurd amount of overpricedness for their base 512 GB edition, which comes in at the controversial $1,049. For those people who are wondering, how about where you are, or when those outside of US, in where I am in Australia, that same 512 GB of and the 16 GB and all the 8 GB VRAM freaking Steam machine, it is good hefty $1,609, which again something to be aware of for the US viewership. That these Steam machine that price includes your state or the sales tax in Australia. You're legally obligated to, when you have a sticker price for a product, you must have all the sales and all the taxes already on top of it, on top of what your product is. So, yeah. And also, if we are to really talk about the official thing, officially, and they have said this is a semi-custom 6-core 12-thread CPU. According to Moore's law, this is a 2P cores and 4E core, and this is a U-series CPU. U-series, which means it's an AMD low-powered and efficiency first silicon before any high performance, which is not surprised considering how their TDP is 30 watts and the AMD's H high performance silicon base starts off at 30 watts, but most of it is normally 35-watt TDP. So yes, Steam is not giving you a high performance CPU with this $1,049 and result. Yeah, this is kind of, well, unfortunate, as the silicon that AMD has based their custom silicon off of is a U series where it's efficiency and power efficiency, which a lot of the reviews and a lot of the reviewers are like, hey, for any of the CPU bound title, yeah, it gets pretty bad thanks to them using this U series silicon. And I'm not surprised, even if there's gaming laptop with the U series silicon, even if they push all the max TDP out, even if TDP was unleashed, the U series still ended up losing to the H series, as simply you cannot tell an efficiency first and efficient a silicon that isn't designed for high performance to go, hey man, go high performance hypercar rolling, okay? Which again, which is kind of meh, but 99% of the time, in most games, you are going to be GPU bottlenecked, since you're pretty much using a custom yield of an RX 7600, as even some reviewers have found out, like, oh yeah, even if they TDP lock the RX 7600 8 GB to the same Steam Deck, the desktop card was kind of still slightly better than the one that say, like, yeah, I guess Steam is just taking garbage bin silicon from AMD and be like, yeah, we're just going to sell this, and at a pretty absurd prices. Again, do I think the community backlash for these $1,049, yes, as pretty much they're not going to be really competing with the PS5 and the Xbox Series, but at the same time they're trying to price it like one. So now on to my analysis, and pretty much yeah, as I already previously alluded to, most tech YouTubers that try to build their own version of Steam machine, yeah, they were able to build a much more like little bit bigger MATX system, or if they went outright standard ATX system, they were way stronger and better. As a lot of YouTubers, they were able to fit like I don't know a Ryzen 5 7600X and a full-on desktop RX 9060 XE 16GB, which you guessed it, since those silicon is high performance silicon, as those silicon can easily go 65 watt and 200 watt on the RX 9060 XE 16GB. Those things just completely crushed the Steam machine and in performance. However, for those people that's like, oh, let's try and make something good about this Steam machine one. Yes, if you are going to treat this like a console where you are just going to be buying every video game that is on they're going to play on Steam machine is going to be Steam machine verified, this is a long-term investment, way cheaper than a PS5, PS5 Pro, Xbox Series S and X. As one, there is no subscription for the hardware. Two, get online and play multiplayer. So, like, if you want to play Helldivers or whatever, those multiplayer games that are on Steam, and guess what? If you were to buy a PS5, PS5 Pro, Xbox Series, yes, on upfront, your cost will be cheaper, but in the end, the online subscription will end up long term costing you more with the Sony and the Xbox platforms. So this is very, very extreme niche, and this may be why Steam has kind of, in my opinion, has justified cranking up the price to try and be like, hey, we are gonna sell it to this weird console PC market, and that also is wanting to be like Linux and be like, yeah, and that wants to be in this market. That's what I think is the Steam target audience for this hardware, or super enthusiasts where they primarily already have a really, really, really good gaming PC and just went, okay, it's for my kid or my wife or just for their living room PC, and they just want when sometimes they don't want to be in the boot up the giant gaming PC, and they want to relax in the living room. Steam machine is their second or third PC. For those people that are having 2-3 desktops or gaming system, they really at that point can afford this 1,049 or 1,000 whatever absurd 2 terabyte edition. To them, they can afford this. And also, another thing I have found with Steam machine analysis, as you can see, it is pretty hard to do RAM upgrade, but for the SSD upgrade, it's pretty easy, as you pretty much just need to take it out of shell and then take the shell out, and then underneath the motherboard they got the M.2 pretty readily easily accessible. However, if you are upgrading the RAM, like what some of the Steam engineers have been saying, you are going to need more technical knowledge on how to disassemble electronics. I think there's some EFIE shielding or whatever, plastic shielding for them to be compliant to some radiation testing or whatever. But like doing sure the RAM kit will be probably require advanced knowledge, technical knowledge, and pretty handy with tools to upgrade the RAM. However, SSD, I can confirm if you're okay with 16GB kit, single or dual channel, and you don't want to pay Steam to upgrade to the 2TB and you want to do it yourself, yes, I can very much recommend. Okay, you can go upgrade the M. However, it is not those long NVMe SSD. It's those short NVMe SSD that kind of caps out at the 2TB range. Do I also think we are ever gonna get a Steam Machine Barebone Kit Edition? No. Thanks to them making it pretty hard to access RAM, I do not think Steam Machine Barebone Kit is very viable. However, if Steam wants to re-engineer it, where they make RAM accessing a lot more easier, then I can see a Barebone Kit viable. But also, lastly, to talk about Steam OS 3.0, which also happens to launch with the Steam Machine, and which a lot of tech media seems to on launch day have forgotten to talk about and only talk about it, later on. And that is, Steam OS now supports any CPU, and the only restriction you have to run when you build your own Steam machine is you must have a AMD discrete graphics card. Hooray! We can, for those people that's like, I want to go build my own Steam machine and not pay this exorbitant Steam Deck price to build their own MATX, ATX, or EATX Steam machine. Congratulations, you can now do that with Steam OS 3.0. Just keep in mind with the restriction of AMD DGPU support only. And as for NVIDIA Intel discrete graphics card, Steam has officially said they are working on it with NVIDIA and Intel. So yeah, overall, Steam OS is very much becoming a very good viable option on if all you're going to be doing on your DIY PC or pre-built is gaming, this is good. Steam OS 3.0 is very good choice. And oh yeah, obviously for Linux, you're gonna have some multiplayer game issue, as officially some games are not gonna support multiplayer feature. But if you're a single player game, I can really recommend the Steam OS 3.0 for your gaming PC, or give it a try. Dual boot, and if you're loving Steam OS 3.0, I think we should give it a go. But anyway, that's it for another Baka commentary. If you'd like the video, do the typical like, share, comment, subscribe, and I'll see you guys in the next video.